matter who you are, there's a reason you feel called to go after the things that you dream of. It is so important to know your why. Knowing why we do what we do is absolutely crucial, because along the way, we face obstacles, there's setbacks, there's discouragements, and you often wonder, do I have what it takes to really succeed and go all the way? Knowing your why gives purpose to what you're doing, and oftentimes it's our only motivation that keeps us going. Every artist I know really has this. You have this. Everybody has their reason why they do what they do, and the origins of where they first wanted to become an artist or wanted to pursue their dream, whatever it is. My first sort of recollection about art was through my dad. As a family, he would take us to go collect art, as he called it. He would have these big dreams that he would be able to discover this artist, they would get really famous, and then he would sell the paintings and he would buy a sailboat and he could retire on the Greek islands on his sailboat. So he would send me and my brother into this art show. It was just, you know, this entire ballroom of stacks and stacks and stacks of paintings that were made in a factory somewhere. It's kind of funny to look back on this and think we were going to discover some artist. And that was my first exposure to art. My dad is Greek. I was raised in a Greek household where boys are better than girls, and girls are supposed to grow up and marry a doctor, an engineer, and cook and make their husbands happy and have babies. My mother was a very sort of mouthy, strong woman, very opinionated, very kind, very sweet. My dad was just extremely macho. He believed real men don't cry. I really never saw my dad cry. He's very hard-edged, and his words could either make you or break you. When he said something, there was a tremendous amount of power to it, and it would either shred me and I would be in tears of feeling like I was nothing and I was worthless, or it elevated me and I felt like I could conquer the world. For me, I was 15 years old. I was sitting in art class. I went to an all-girls school in Honolulu, Hawaii. They had an endowment for the arts that they had to spend, so they brought in outside teachers. And this day, we had a guest teacher. Her name was Betty Edwards. Now she's very famous. She wrote Drawing from the Right Side of the Brain. But at the time, she was just starting to get known a little bit. And here she is standing in front of me, and she announced that she was going to do something very special for us that day. She told us that she was going to turn on our right brain. And I was like, what in the heck is that? Turning on your right brain. So she explained right brain from left brain and how the right brain deals with abstract and is really the artist inside of us that knows how to see things in a very spatial way. It's basically like a muscle, and the more that you activate and utilize your right brain, the easier it is for you to use it and therefore be able to create art. I was not an artist. I never grew up believing that about myself. In fact, every artistic bent I had, like I really enjoyed drawing and coloring, and my dad redirected it into architecture. In this art class, the last thing I believed about myself is that, you know, I could be an artist. But around this time, I had been thinking about, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do when I grow up? I was clueless. I was good at a lot of things, but I wasn't great at anything. I wanted some kind of spark or some sort of talent. And so this day in art class, I felt magic happening. And as I did these exercises, we had this very complex drawing of this man sitting in a chair, and we had to flip it upside down and draw it upside down by looking at it. I could feel my mind opening up, and my eyes were able to see things that they couldn't normally see. I was able to focus very deeply on what was in front of me on the page. It's like, boom, my right brain just turned on like that day, and suddenly I could draw. It felt like I went through this magical door And on the other side was a whole world where I saw differently. I could see shapes, I could see relationships of different abstract elements and be able to translate them into a drawing. After this art class, sitting at my desk with typewriter paper and pencils, I've tried to gather as many photographs and pictures of faces, portraits, hands, anything I could draw. And just like I did in class, I would try to copy and replicate what I could see. I had done this drawing of Marilyn Monroe that I saw in a magazine, and I took it and I went out into the living room where my mom was sitting there. I showed it to her and I said, "Hey Mom, look what I drew." She was like getting mad at me and she said, "You didn't draw that, don't lie to me." And I said, "No, I did. I in my room just now, I drew it." My mom just did not believe me that I had done this drawing. So finally, exasperated, she thumbed through her magazine and she found this black and white picture of this music composer and she ripped it out and she said, "Okay, if you drew that, then you take this, you go in your room and you draw it for me." I said, "Okay." So I went into my room, sat down at my desk, and took me maybe an hour. I drew this portrait of this composer and I brought it out to her and I showed it to her. Her eyes got really wide and she just stood there with her mouth open looking at my drawing and finally looked up at me and just said, "I'm sorry, I can't believe you have talent." It was the first time I really got outside confirmation that I had something, because I felt like I did. I felt like, wow, I can draw, and now my mom confirmed it. Art was sort of my new thing, and I had decided I need to really pursue this and do something about this. I talked to the art teacher, I talked to the school administrator, and they agreed to let me do this independent study with painting. Now I was able to do art, so I talked to the art teacher. She said, "I don't know anything about painting. I can't help you there. I'm a ceramicist, so you're kind of on your own. This is truly an independent study. Go for it, have fun." I had basically a whole arrangement of acrylic paints and a canvas, and I just started painting intuitively and from my gut just what I wanted to paint. I created on this really large canvas, it was about a 30 by 40, these two women portraits. And at the time I thought this was just an incredible painting, but looking back, there's sort of two floating heads of these women that kind of look like eggheads, and I couldn't get their eyes to match up, to look like they were on the same level. One was always higher than the other. So I just put a flower over one of the eyes to block it because I couldn't get them to match. They had these kind of drips coming down their face and all these flowers around them and this reflection in a lake. It was a very creative painting. I was very proud of this painting. It took me months to complete it. I had decided, I think I'm gonna give this to my dad. I brought it home from school and I hid it in my closet for a few weeks until it was his birthday. And then on the day of his birthday, I was waiting for him to come home from work, and I brought the painting out of my closet and I took it to the back patio because he always went straight from his car through the house to the back patio to sit, read his sailing magazine, and smoke a cigar. I was waiting for him there and I heard his car pull up and I started getting really nervous. And my heart was beating really fast. I was just thinking, oh my gosh, this is it. What if my dad ridicules me? What if he hates it? That could be it. I was so nervous. I felt sick. I could hear him coming up the front stairs, and Keys comes through the door. He's walking towards the patio, and I have the painting there with the back towards where my dad would see it. And he came out and I said, "Dad, happy birthday, I made this for you." And I turned the painting around and I saw his eyes just get really wide and his mouth dropped and I could see tears forming in his eyes. I thought, oh my God, I'm making my dad cry. This painting is making him cry. I was just wrecked. I was undone. My dad got really embarrassed and he grabbed the painting and he didn't say a word, and he just took it to his room. I went to my room and I threw my head on the pillow and I just bawled into the pillow, and I told God, I want to do that for the rest of my life. The thought that art is so powerful, it can make my macho Greek dad cry, to me felt like the most amazing, powerful thing I could ever do with my life. So that's why I'm an artist today. Reliving and seeing my dad's face and seeing, for the first time in my life, tears form in his eyes has always got me through. Anytime I've ever questioned or thought, why am I doing what I'm doing? Or, man, this is a lot harder than I thought. That image of seeing my dad's eyes wet with tears just always has driven me. It's always reminded me of the power of art. And even today, I'm privileged on those days to see my art affect somebody, or I'm in a gallery show and I see a collector there looking at my art, and I can see they begin to get emotional, or you can see the wonder hit their face. Maybe it's not tears, but another emotion. And wow, you see them kind of going somewhere. The art is leading them into their own imagination or their own world, or it's solving something for them, or maybe it's bringing them into a whole new perspective. And I know for you, if you're an artist, you'll have those moments too. Maybe you already have. Maybe you've already seen your art touch somebody and affect somebody. I know you'll have a lot of those situations. Or if you're an entrepreneur or you're starting a new business or something, there's obviously going to be difficulties or things that you might face, but knowing why you're doing what you're doing, what is the reason you made this decision to begin with, I think is so important to record that and to refer to it, to go back there, to relive those moments, because it will be what carries you through. It'll be what brings you to the next breakthrough you're gonna have. Frida Kahlo, a well-known artist, she was married to Diego Rivera, and her why came out of this tragic accident she had on a bus. She had to go through all these surgeries. Art is what got her through that, and that was her why. Having a strong why is really what will give legs and longevity, and I would even say legacy to what you do.